Hi, this is Joseph Anthony of tappingwithmusic.com. Thank you so much for stopping by again. This is part 2 of a little mini-series on how to be a Waldorf-inspired teacher. And the first video we talked about the first keys being love for yourself and children, cultivating a sense of adventure, cultivating a sense of humor, and cultivating a sense of being flexible. And the next key I'd like to talk about is a very controversial one in Waldorf schools, and that is saying no and setting boundaries. Of course, everyone in a Waldorf school is overworked, overtaxed, over-meetinged, over-committed. And yet, love and revere yourself enough to say no if it's too much. Advocate for yourself. Set boundaries. Give a lot. You know you already do, but give a lot. Be willing to say, no, you know what, I just can't. I just can't. Not right now, at least. Advocate for having a living wage in your school. Doctors and other forms of healers in the world, and I do consider education a form of healing, have no trouble making lots of money doing what they do. And it should be the same in Waldorf schools, in my opinion. This art of profession needn't be a martyrdom thing, or, oh, you're doing this spiritual work, so it should be done for free. I think that's crazy. So, yeah, learn to say no, set boundaries. That's another key to being a good Waldorf-inspired teacher. The next one is read P.G. Wodehouse, the great humorist from the early 1900s and 1920s, 30s, all that. Wrote many wonderful books. And I bring him up just as an example of learn to love the world. Learn to read and do things that have nothing whatsoever to do with Waldorf education. Sometimes we're always working. Always, 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 always working. We have to read that story, we got to get that story, we got to do this, we got to do that, we got to do that, got to get that lesson plan, got to do that. Be willing to be incomplete. Be well prepared, but be willing to be incomplete. And trust yourself enough to improvise a story if you don't have it 100%. You'll give what's right for your students in that moment. Believe that you will. Trust that you will. That said, have fun doing things outside the Waldorf thing. Cultivate interests that have nothing to do with Waldorf education. Related to this, cultivate a love for the world and for the time your students have chosen to be born. If we walk around with an inner scorn and sense of disdain for whether it be technology, media, food, the world in general, the state of the world, if we walk with that in us, this is the world your children chose to be born in, so they need to be here and they have great work and destinies to fulfill. Help them go into a world that they can love with a sense of humor, flexibility, adventure, love for themselves. Not a world that they hate or think that you hate. They will love what you love. So, love the world. Cultivate a sense of beauty that's related to this one of this key of reading Wodehouse or anything unrelated to Waldorf education. Loving the world. Cultivate a sense of beauty for the world. And that will really help you in your Waldorf teaching. The next one is, I think I kind of touched on this earlier, but it's developing a love for the imperfect. Set your standards high for yourself and your students, and be willing to lower your standards for that day if necessary for your mental sanity. That Billy Club I talked about in the first video, or maybe it was this one, now I don't remember, of if you do something wrong or it doesn't quite go as planned, you beat yourself up. I would encourage you not to do that at all. Love yourself in the attempts you're making, and if it comes out a little imperfect, then use it as a lesson for yourself, a growing opportunity, a learning opportunity. Your children are far more resilient than some people would make them out to be. And of course, if you make a mistake, it is with the child's mind, heart, body, all that business. But life will go on. So be gentle with yourself. And if you're gentle with yourself in the mistakes you make, that will transfer over to the mistakes that your children, your students make. You'll be gentle with them too. So I just said as one of the keys of being a successful Waldorf-inspired teacher to read things other than Waldorf education. This one is read things that are from Waldorf educationally inclined publishers. Read Steiner. Read Renewal Magazine. Read things. And also read things that are outside the Waldorf thing. Read mainstream education things. Anywhere you can find inspiration and that little nugget for transitions and classroom management and lesson plans. Read it. Keep up on the craft. Study. Go to the trainings, these little summer trainings that so many places have around the country and the world. Be open to new inspiration and learn from your colleagues. Be willing to ask for help. Read Steiner for inspiration. Go to your colleagues for inspiration. Say, I'm just a little lost here. I'm not sure what to do. Help. Sometimes we close the door of our classrooms and we're these little separate islands. And that's okay. And yet it can become not okay. You are working within the framework of a community, so what you do affects others. And it is entirely possible your asking for help will help that person who gives you the help, if you know what I mean. So, another key to being a good Waldorf-inspired teacher is practice deep breathing. Learn to breathe with your whole body, with your heart. Learn to breathe in images of colors that you love. Learn to breathe in fragrances that calm and relax you. Learn to have visualizations that bring you comfort and peace. Take a little bit of time every day. And if you miss it, don't beat yourself up. But try to discipline yourself, to take a little bit of time every day to invite the angels into your room, into your teaching, into your lesson plans. Learn to breathe. Really breathe in deeply. And as you're breathing, you can say nice things to yourself, think nice things about your students, and visualize them in the light and all that good stuff. Do that on a daily basis if possible. Another thing is to develop strong, working, good partnerships with the parents of your students. It's really might be the key to the whole deal in terms of having a successful class. Be willing to delegate. I have the parents in my class make my nature tables, as outlandish as that might be, but it's one thing I don't have to do, right? And it gets them feeling involved. I have class parents come in and help me set up painting. I have them come in and observe this sanctuary, this temple where, all this wonderful thing goes on. Open the door. Let people in. And if you're worried it's going to freak out the rhythm and having more than one ego in the room and your students are going to... I wouldn't worry about it. I really wouldn't. Your students are awesome and quite resilient. So, develop those strong relationships with parents. Be willing to say if you made a mistake. Be willing to say you need help. Be willing to say, would you do this? And you know what? The same goes with your colleagues. Develop strong, good working relationships with your colleagues. Got to work with these people every day. And some Waldorf-inspired teachers are weird people. I'm one of them. And I'm really weird. So we have our quirks, and we don't know the biographies necessarily, or the things. Put yourself in their shoes. Learn to not take things so personally. Learn to say no. And learn to have fun with your colleagues. There are some colleagues who believe, we got to be together all the time. Have meetings, go out to eat, and all that stuff. And learn to say no if you want to. Developing a good relationship with a colleague also means learning to say no as well as yes. So, we've had in the last 2 videos love for yourself, love for children, a reverence for yourself and children, cultivating a sense of humor, cultivating a sense of adventure, being flexible, learning to say no and setting boundaries, reading things and experiencing things outside the Waldorf curriculum, like P.G. Wodehouse, strongly recommended. Develop a love for the world and the time your students have been born. Cultivate a love for beauty and a love for the imperfect. Learn to ask for help. Learn to breathe deeply. And invite the angels into everything that you do. Cultivate good relationships with your parents, the parents of your students and your colleagues. And these are just a few things that I've picked up along the way, and I hope you found them helpful. And you know what? One more. Chocolate covers a multitude of sins. So have chocolate for yourself stashed in your desk, and you can even make a little box and put it in the office and secretly supply chocolate in that box once a week. Find ways to give in that way, but especially in the chocolate variety, and your colleagues will be very happy. You don't have to tell them it's you, or you can tell them it's you. But anyway, chocolate helps teachers a lot. So anyway, this is Joseph Anthony of tappingwithmusic.com saying thank you for watching, and if you want any other thoughts or mentoring or any educational consulting, please go to my website, tappingwithmusic.com, and drop me a line. I'd be happy to help in any way I can. Thanks for watching. Take care.